Alright, today we're going to be finish welding everything on the Zoot. Now, I've got most of the stuff out of the bottom. We've got our fork extensions there, but we need to put the counterweight back on the forklift. For everything we use around the house, you don't need the counterweight on, but to pick up the Zoot, this picks up I think 600 kilos easy without the counterweight, and surprisingly the Suzuki's heavier than that. We've been really smashing out the work on this thing lately. As you saw, we've just done all our body mount nuts. Now that was a hell of a tedious job doing all those. That took me like half a day machining those up. But they're out of 14mm bolts. I just ran a drill bit up them and then tapped them and then screwed them in, because you can't buy anything off the shelf for a 30mm body lift. So I just quickly whipped up those. We've strengthened up the chassis rail. Now I thought I'd quickly just touch base on what exactly I did here and why I sort of went this way. Now, if you'll notice in a long wheelbase Vitara, they have a factory gusset right where I've welded this box section here. And I'd say with Suzuki's testing that they've done, this is probably a crumple zone here. So if you were to get in a car accident, the front would probably crumple back and that would crumple in. So I thought I'd chuck that in. That's going to be the weak point. Suzuki wouldn't put it in if it didn't need it. And because we've pulled 15mm out the front here, I was able to box the front of this 50x100 box section. That's the bottom chassis rail. And then I've wrapped a bit of 4mm, as you saw, all the way around. So for that to tear up, it's going to have to tear through that 4mm plate, which there's no way it's going to. And the reason why I didn't continue this fish plate all the way through is because these are actually weep holes for water. They're probably strength ribs as well. Like, it's a shame I've got this old chassis brace here because that blocks that weep hole. But I wanted to keep them open. Letting the water out is very important, especially with the front of the chassis rail is completely open. We got all holes here for other things. I think that's actually for factory bull bar. But keeping the water out is very important. Now, on top of this 100x50, there's a factory 10mm hole. I opened that up to about 18mm, and I've just got to get my magnet drill and do the same in the bottom. So we should be better than factory with letting the water out, because it kind of worried me. There was a fair bit of just silt dust in there, build up, and like, imagine the water sitting in there. If it can't escape, that's just going to rust out all internally in here. So I wanted to sort of keep it as factory as I could with the whole point of doing this is because I had a slight clearance issue here at full droop. Now, it wasn't touching, but it was coming close enough that I was worried about it. So I just knocked off 15mm and then plated it all in. But we got plenty of room now. I didn't even need to put this gusset in the back, but I thought for peace of mind, all we've got to do now to put diffs in is I'd just like to cut off these old radius arm mounts here. But as you can sort of see, because it wraps right around the chassis rail, it's gonna be too hard to do it now. I'd rather, because I want to plan on doing a soft top body swap on this, I think we'll do that at a later date. Pop the body off, and then I got full access to the top, which I can just drop the 9" on. And using the 9" will be a lot quicker than using a 5" grinder. It'll take too long, be too hard, especially with all the body on and flinging stuff everywhere and lying on the ground. I'd rather do it from the top. You don't get covered in sparks and whatnot. So for the minute, we'll just cut off the bottom, try and make it as good as we can make it look, and we'll tackle that, ripping all this off at a later date. But I have got another set of guards. We're deleting the snorkel off this side. It's going to go to the other side, because under the bonnet, we've got really no room here for our airbox. Plus, I never really liked the crossover tube because it was so long, being such thin alloy that it used to flex, and it would always, you'd get a hairline crack in one of these 45 bends that was there. So I want to delete this. That washer bottle, I've ordered one from the UK, and that's actually goes this side and will bolt in. That's why it's got the factory insert in there, and it's got the other one in there. So that should just bolt straight in. All I got to do is just extend the wires, which is easy. 2 wires and the hose, which the hose already comes to here. So I'll just be able to flick the hose around the other way, and that should bolt in perfect. We've just got to remount up our intercooler pump. The intercooler itself will mount to the back of our shock tower here. That cross over the actual boost pipe, which is right here, should connect up fine. I might just have to cut that 45 and make that a 22.5 just to get this to pivot up a little bit more, but I might see if I can get a silicon for that for now, because later down the track I want to pull the winch out forward and get a proper air-to-air intercooler. Having all this water and all this reservoir that I got here, I never really liked. And when you're crawling up a track, you're not going to be, whether it's water or air, the intercooler is still going to get hot regardless. I know everyone says air to air, water to air is better in the bush, but the thermo fan is going to be sucking cold air from the front through the intercooler, but it's going to be doing the same with an air to air cooler as well. So in my opinion, they're both the same. Plus I can get this water to air cooler is only what, 200 mil by 100 mil diameter, where if I can get a nice huge big 300 by 300 or something intercooler, it's going to be far more efficient than this water one. And then over here where there's all cobwebs, everything's just crazy dusty. Our air box is going to go here, and then all our wiring, that's going to go in the back. So we'll put all the factory wiring back here. We'll just cut our hole for our snorkel. It's going to be kind of annoying because I don't like the snorkel on the driver's side, simply because you hear it sucking, and I don't like that sound when you're driving along the highway. But I think for ease of not having the crossover pipe, like this this crossover pipe from here, will just literally do a big U straight to the air box, which will sit right here. And I think I've got ideas for air boxes, but I'd like to go with something that's a generic air box. I don't want a pod filter or anything like that. And then we literally send this strut brace off to get powder coated. We've just got to paint the tops of these, but I didn't want to do it yet just because they're so covered in dust. And we're going to be pulling all this out, so we'll just give it a bit of a tidy up. And hopefully that's sort of the last of things. Massive progress we've made today. We're ready to sling the diffs under. So in the next video we'll be building probably the front diff, get that all under, because once the diff goes back under, we can then put our guards on, set our bump stop height, and trim out the guard where need be, and put the new flares on, put the snorkel on, get all the front end finished off, and then we'll tackle the back. And the last bit of bodywork we've got to do in the back is still got to do these towers on here, but I'll do a video all that once we do the rear end, put all the rear diff together, because I still haven't found anything that's going to work here. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.